The massive Vorthek warships dropped out of hyperspace like dark thunderclouds above Earth's orbit. Admiral Krev stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the small blue planet through the viewing screen. 200 of the galaxy's most feared warships surrounded him in perfect formation. Each ship carried enough firepower to level entire cities. The Vorthek Empire had never lost a battle in 3,000 years of conquest. "Primitive world," muttered Commander Thane from beside the Admiral. "Look at their pathetic orbital stations. We could destroy them with our smallest vessels." Admiral Krev nodded with satisfaction. Earth looked exactly like every other world they had conquered. Small defensive satellites orbited the planet in predictable patterns. A few space stations floated nearby with obvious military markings. The inhabitants had built their defenses exactly where any fool could see them. This would be another easy victory for the Empire. "Open communications with their leadership," Krev ordered. "Let us deliver the standard terms and get this over with quickly." The main screen flickered and showed a human sitting calmly in what appeared to be a simple office. The man wore a plain dark suit and had graying hair. He looked completely unbothered by the massive fleet hanging over his world like a sword. "I am Ambassador Marcus Webb representing Earth," the human said in clear galactic standard language. "How may we help the Vorthek Empire today?" Admiral Krev almost laughed at the casual tone. This primitive creature acted like they were discussing the weather instead of facing total destruction. "I am Admiral Krev of the Vorthek Imperial Fleet. You will surrender all military assets immediately. Earth will provide 40% of its population for labor in our mining operations. Your world will pay tribute equal to 60% of your annual production. You have 72 hours to comply with these terms." Ambassador Webb listened carefully and made some notes on a simple paper pad. He looked up with the same calm expression. "We appreciate you taking the time to visit our system, Admiral Krev. However, we must respectfully decline your generous offer." The bridge fell silent. Commander Thane stared at the screen in disbelief. "Did their translator malfunction?" he whispered. Admiral Krev felt his anger rising. No species had ever refused the Vorthek Empire. "Perhaps you do not understand the situation, human. We have conquered over 8,000 worlds. Our fleet can reduce your planet to molten rock within minutes. Surrender now or face complete annihilation." Webb nodded thoughtfully. "We understand your position perfectly, Admiral. We also suggest you reconsider your approach to other species in the galaxy. Many civilizations would prefer diplomatic solutions to military threats." The other Vorthok officers began laughing. Commander Thane wiped tears from his eyes. "This primitive thinks he can lecture us about diplomacy. Admiral, let me personally lead the bombardment of their major cities. That will change their tune quickly." "You have 72 hours, Admiral Krev repeated coldly. "Use that time wisely, human. Study the fate of species that have opposed us. Look at the dead worlds we have left behind. Your choice is simple. Surrender or join them in extinction." Ambassador Webb made another note on his pad. "We understand your timeline, Admiral. However, we feel obligated to warn you that Earth has been preparing for this type of conversation for quite some time. We strongly recommend you withdraw your fleet and seek peaceful relations instead. Warn us?" Admiral Krev could barely contain his rage. "You dare threaten the Vorthek Empire? Your primitive weapons cannot even reach our ships. Your technology is centuries behind ours. What possible threat could you represent?" "We prefer not to demonstrate our capabilities unless absolutely necessary," Webb replied calmly. "Violence should always be the last option between civilized species. We are simply asking you to reconsider your demands and perhaps explore mutually beneficial trade agreements instead." Commander Thane was openly mocking the human now. "Trade agreements? Admiral, this creature believes we came here to negotiate like merchants in a marketplace. Shall we show them what real power looks like?" Admiral Krev made his decision. "Begin standard intimidation bombardment. Target their orbital defenses and military installations. Avoid major population centers for now. Let them watch their pathetic defenses crumble. The Vorthak fleet opened fire with precise plasma beams. Earth's defensive satellites exploded in bright flashes of light. Surface military bases disappeared under sustained bombardment. Space stations broke apart and tumbled toward the planets. Atmosphere. The demonstration lasted exactly 10 minutes and destroyed every visible military target around Earth. "Perhaps now you understand reality," Admiral Krebs said when the firing stopped. "That was merely a taste of our power. Surrender immediately or we will begin targeting your cities." Ambassador Webb watched the destruction through his office window. Several burning pieces of debris streaked across the sky like falling stars. He turned back to the screen with the same calm expression. "We tried to warn you, Admiral. Earth has been testing defensive measures for several decades now. What you just destroyed were training targets and decoys." The bridge fell silent again. Admiral Krev felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Explain yourself, human." "Our actual defensive systems have been hidden throughout the solar system," Webb continued. "Every asteroid mining operation you passed on your way here was actually a camouflaged weapons platform. Those communication satellites your sensors ignored are advanced targeting systems. Even our International Space Station serves as a command center for defenses you cannot detect." Commander Thane checked his sensor readings frantically. "Admiral, our long-range scanners show nothing unusual. This human is obviously lying to buy time." Webb smiled for the first time during their conversation. "We have also been in contact with many species under Vorthak rule. They have provided U.S. with detailed technical specifications for your ships and weapons. We know exactly how your empire operates, Admiral." "Impossible," Admiral Krev snarled. "Our subject species would never dare betray us. They know the price of rebellion." "People suffering under tyranny will always seek hope," Webb replied. "They have been waiting for someone capable of challenging your empire. We have been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Suddenly every alarm on the Vorthak flagship began screaming. Commander Thane stared at his instruments in horror. "Admiral, we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships are materializing from stealth fields. Thousands of them. They have us completely surrounded." Admiral Krev looked at his tactical display and felt his blood turn to ice. Human vessels appeared on every side of his fleet like ghosts becoming solid. Sleek ships unlike anything in his database hung motionless in space with their weapons already locked on Vorthak targets. The humans had not fired a single shot, but his entire invasion force was trapped. Ambassador Webb leaned forward slightly. "Admiral Krev, we have been monitoring your empire's activities for decades. We know about the genocides. We know about the slave worlds. We know about the species you have driven to extinction. Today we are offering you the same choice you have given to thousands of others." The communication channel went silent except for the sound of alarms echoing through the Vorthak ship. Admiral Krev stared at the screen where Ambassador Webb waited patiently for his response. Outside the viewports, human warships floated like patient predators surrounding wounded prey. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Krev understood what it felt like to be completely outmatched and utterly helpless. Admiral Krev stared at the tactical display showing thousands of human ships surrounding his fleet. Every instinct told him to order an immediate attack, but something held him back. These humans had appeared from nowhere using technology his sensors could not detect. They had planned this ambush perfectly while maintaining the appearance of a primitive civilization. "All ships maintain defensive positions," he ordered through clenched teeth. "Do not fire unless fired upon." Commander Thane looked confused. "Admiral, we should attack immediately while we still have numerical superiority. Our ships are larger and more heavily armed." "Look at your readings more carefully," Krev replied grimly. "Those human vessels are not using any propulsion systems we can identify. Their energy signatures are completely unknown. They appeared instantly from stealth technology that defeated our best sensors. We need more information before we act." On the main screen, Ambassador Webb continued to wait patiently. His calm demeanor was even more unsettling now that the true situation had become clear. This human had known from the beginning that his species possessed overwhelming military superiority. Yet he had still attempted peaceful negotiation first. "Admiral," Webb said finally, "we would like to introduce you to someone who can explain our position more clearly." The screen changed to show a different human. This one wore a military uniform and stood in what was obviously a command center. Multiple screens showed tactical information and battle preparations. The woman looked directly at Admiral Krev with sharp, intelligent eyes. "I am Commander Lisa Park of the Earth Defense Force," she said in a crisp, professional tone. "I am speaking to you from our primary command facility on Luna. What you see around your fleet represents only a small portion of our actual defensive capabilities." Admiral Krev felt his confidence crumbling further. "Your moonbase was not detected by our scouts? Our intelligence report showed no significant military installations in this system." Commander Park nodded. "We have spent decades perfecting stealth technology and deception tactics. Every structure you observed during your approach served multiple purposes. Our mining operations harvest resources while concealing weapons platforms. Our research stations monitor galactic communications while appearing to study local phenomena. Even our civilian space traffic follows patterns designed to mask military movements." "Impossible," Commander Thane protested. "No primitive species could develop such sophisticated deception protocols without outside assistance." "We had excellent teachers," Park replied coolly. "Every species that has fallen under Vorthok rule eventually makes contact with Earth. They share technical data, tactical information, and detailed intelligence about your empire's weaknesses. They have been hoping for decades that someone would eventually challenge your dominance." Admiral Krev realized the horrible truth. His empire's own subjects had been secretly working against them. Every conquered world had become a potential source of intelligence for their enemies. The very success of Vorthok expansion had created the network that would destroy them. "We know the exact composition of your fleets," Park continued. "We know your standard battle tactics and preferred weapon systems. We know which worlds produce your raw materials and which species serve in your military forces. Most importantly, we know that your empire is far weaker than it appears to outsiders." The tactical display showed more human ships materializing throughout the solar system. Massive vessels appeared near the outer planets while smaller craft took positions around Earth's moon. The humans were revealing their true strength piece by piece, like a predator slowly showing its fangs. "Your species claims to be the galaxy's strongest military force," Park said. "In reality, you maintain control through fear and overwhelming numbers rather than superior technology. Your weapon systems are borrowed from conquered civilizations. Your ships are built using designs stolen from destroyed species. Even your battle strategies are copied from enemies you have defeated." Commander Thane was frantically scanning the human fleet, trying to identify familiar technology. "Admiral, I am detecting weapon signatures from at least 12 different species. These humans have somehow combined technologies from across the galaxy." "Not stolen," Park corrected, as if she could hear their conversation. "Freely given by species seeking liberation from your tyranny. The Zelani shared their shield technology after you enslaved their homeworld. The Korvac provided their plasma weapons after you destroyed their colonies. The Vex gave us their stealth systems after you committed genocide against their people." "Admiral." Krev felt sick. Every major conquest of the past century had apparently resulted in new technology being passed to Earth. His empire had unknowingly been arming their greatest enemy for decades. The humans had turned Vorthok success into the tools of Vorthok destruction. "We also know about your supply lines," Park added with a slight smile. "Your fleet requires specific fuel types that can only be produced on certain worlds. Your weapons need rare metals that come from a handful of mining operations. Your ships depend on replacement parts manufactured in facilities we have already located. Cut off from those resources, your mighty fleet becomes helpless within weeks." The implications hit Admiral Krev like a physical blow. If the humans could disrupt Vorthok logistics even briefly, the entire invasion force would be stranded in Earth's solar system. Without fuel, they could not retreat. Without ammunition, they could not fight. Without replacement parts, they could not maintain their ships. You have studied us well, he admitted reluctantly. What do you propose? Commander Park's expression became deadly serious. Unconditional surrender of your entire fleet. You will order all Vorthic forces to stand down. Immediately. Your crews will be taken into custody while we determine which individuals are guilty of war crimes. Your ships will be impounded as evidence of imperial aggression. Unacceptable, Admiral Krev snarled. The Vorthic Empire does not surrender to primitives. Then you will face the consequences of your choice, Park replied calmly. We had hoped to resolve this situation without unnecessary bloodshed. We still prefer diplomatic solutions over military action. However, we will not allow your empire to continue threatening innocent species. Another human appeared on the screen. Beside Commander Park, this one wore civilian clothing but carried himself with obvious authority. His name appeared as Captain Jake Morrison, and his uniform indicated command of the largest human vessel. Admiral Krev, Morrison said in a friendly tone, perhaps we can help you understand our perspective. Your empire conquers through fear. An overwhelming force. Humanity survives through adaptation and patience. We have been studying your tactics for generations while you dismissed us as irrelevant. The human captain gestured toward the tactical display. Every battle you have fought has been recorded and analyzed. Every weapon you have used has been studied and countered. Every strategy you have employed has been anticipated and prepared for. You have no tactical advantages remaining. Admiral Krev looked at his own tactical officers who were studying their instruments with growing alarm. The human fleet had positioned itself with mathematical precision. Every Vorthak ship was targeted by multiple human vessels. Escape routes were blocked. Communication channels were being monitored. The humans had achieved perfect tactical superiority without firing a single shot. Suddenly, Commander Thane straightened in shock. Admiral, incoming hyperspace signatures. It's the home fleet. Fleet Commander Vex is arriving with the main battle group. Admiral Krev felt a surge of hope. The Empire's primary military force consisted of over 2,000 warships. Even these mysterious humans could not stand against such overwhelming numbers. Excellent. Signal Fleet Commander Vex immediately. Inform him of the situation and request immediate military support. But Captain Morrison was smiling now. Admiral, we should mention that your reinforcements are about to discover something very important. Our warning about being kind until today was not referring to our military capabilities. There are much more dangerous things in this galaxy than human warships. Fleet Commander Vex arrived at Earth with the full might of the Vorthic Empire behind him. 2,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, creating a wall of destructive power that had never been defeated. Each vessel represented decades of conquest and technological superiority. The combined fleet was powerful enough to crack entire planets and had reduced countless civilizations to burning ruins. Admiral Krev, report your status immediately, Vex commanded as his flagship took position at the center of the massive formation. Why have you not completed the subjugation of this primitive world? Admiral Krev felt embarrassed explaining his situation to his superior officer. Commander, the humans possess unexpected defensive capabilities. They have surrounded our fleet with vessels using unknown technology. I recommend proceeding with extreme caution. Fleet Commander Vex studied the tactical display showing human ships scattered throughout the solar system. The enemy vessels appeared small and insignificant compared to mighty Vorthic warships. How many ships do they have, Admiral? Our sensors detect perhaps 5,000 human craft. We outnumber them significantly, and our vessels are far superior in firepower. The numbers may be misleading, Commander, Krev replied nervously. These humans have demonstrated stealth technology that completely defeated our sensors. They may have additional forces we cannot detect. They also claim to possess detailed intelligence about our military capabilities. Vex dismissed such concerns with a wave of his hand. Primitive species always exaggerate their abilities when facing superior opponents. We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than these humans. Prepare for immediate assault. Oh. Ships will target enemy vessels and military installations simultaneously. This resistance ends now. Before Admiral Krev could protest further, the main communication channel activated. A new human appeared on screens throughout both Vorthok fleets. This one wore simple civilian clothes and stood in what appeared to be a basic office environment. However, his eyes held the sharp intelligence of someone accustomed to making life and death decisions. "I am Director Tom Sullivan, representing Earth Intelligence Services," the human said in a calm, professional voice. "Fleet Commander Vex, we need to discuss several important matters before you proceed with military action." Vex laughed harshly. "The only matter we need to discuss is your immediate surrender, Primitive. You face the combined might of the Vorthok Empire. No force in the galaxy can stand against us." Director Sullivan nodded thoughtfully. "We understand. Your confidence, Commander? However, we feel obligated to share some information that may change your perspective. For the past 30 years, Earth has been conducting covert operations throughout Vorthok-controlled territory. We have been secretly liberating slave colonies and documenting war crimes committed by your empire." "Lies!" Vex snarled. "No primitive species could penetrate our security systems. Our intelligence networks would have detected any such activities immediately." "Your intelligence networks have been compromised for decades," Sullivan replied matter-of-factly. "We have agents embedded within your military command structure. We have contacts on every major Vorthok world. We have been systematically gathering evidence of genocide, slavery, and systematic oppression conducted by your empire across thousands of worlds." The implications hit Fleet Commander Vex like a physical blow. If the humans possessed such extensive intelligence capabilities, they would know about secret military installations, hidden weapons caches, and classified battle plans. They could potentially predict every tactical decision and counter every strategic move. Furthermore, Sullivan continued, we have been providing advanced weapons and tactical support to resistance movements on worlds under Vorthok occupation. Many species you believe to be completely subjugated are actually preparing for coordinated rebellion. They have been waiting for the right moment to strike simultaneously across the entire empire. Commander Thane was frantically checking communication frequencies. "Sir, I am detecting unusual signal traffic throughout Vorthok space. Multiple worlds are reporting communication disruptions and equipment failures. Something is definitely happening." Another human joined Director Sullivan on the screen. This one was an elderly woman wearing what appeared to be academic robes. Her name appeared as Dr. Elena Vasquez, and her title indicated expertise in alien biology and culture. "Fleet Commander Vex," Dr. Vasquez said in a gentle but firm voice, "we have spent decades studying your empire's structure and discovering its fundamental weaknesses. The Vorthok military appears overwhelmingly powerful, but relies entirely on fear and intimidation rather than actual technological superiority." "Explain yourself," Vex demanded. "Your weapon systems are copies of technology stolen from conquered species," the doctor replied. "Your ship designs are modifications of captured vessels. Your battle tactics are adapted from defeated enemies. The Vorthok Empire has never actually invented anything original. You are technological parasites feeding off the creativity of others." Dr. Vasquez gestured toward data displays showing detailed technical analysis. "More importantly, your empire is held together by the belief that resistance is impossible. Once that belief is shattered, your control will collapse rapidly. Subject species will realize they outnumber their oppressors by millions to one. Rebellions will spread faster than you can respond to them." Fleet Commander Vex felt growing unease as he listened to these revelations. The humans spoke with the confidence of people who had studied their enemy thoroughly and discovered critical vulnerabilities. "What do you propose?" "Complete withdrawal from all occupied territories," Dr. Vasquez replied immediately. "Release all enslaved populations." Return stolen technology to its original creators. Submit to Galactic Tribunal for judgment of war crimes committed over the past 3 millennia. Absolutely unacceptable, Vex roared. The Vorthic Empire will never submit to inferior species. We are the rightful rulers of this galaxy. All other civilizations exist to serve us. A third human appeared on the communication channel. This one wore military dress uniform with numerous decorations indicating extensive combat experience. Her name showed as General Rosa Martinez, and her bearing suggested someone accustomed to command authority. Fleet Commander Vex, General Martinez said in a voice that carried absolute conviction. You have 30 minutes to order the complete withdrawal of all Vorthak forces from this system. During that time, you will also transmit orders for the immediate liberation of all slave worlds and the cessation of all aggressive military operations. And if we refuse? Vex asked, though he already suspected the answer. Then you will discover why humanity chose diplomacy over warfare, Martinez replied coldly. We could have ended this conflict the moment your ships entered our space. We could have destroyed your empire decades ago when we first learned of its existence. We chose restraint because we hoped intelligent species could resolve their differences through negotiation. General Martinez paused to let her words sink in. However, we will not allow innocent civilizations to suffer while we pursue peaceful solutions. If you force us to demonstrate our true capabilities, the galaxy will learn why Earth never needed to conquer other worlds to become the most dangerous military force in known space. Suddenly, alarms began screaming throughout the Vorthak fleet. Communications officers reported massive hyperspace disturbances throughout the Empire. Worlds that had been silent for decades were suddenly broadcasting on all frequencies. Military installations were going offline. Supply convoys were disappearing without explanation. Commander Thane stared at his displays in shock. Sir, we are receiving reports of simultaneous uprisings on over 300 Vorthak-controlled worlds. Slave populations are attacking military installations using advanced weapons of unknown origin. Our garrison forces are requesting immediate reinforcement. Fleet Commander Vex realized with growing horror that everything was happening exactly as the humans had predicted. Decades of careful preparation were coming together in one coordinated assault on his empire. The humans had not been bluffing about their intelligence networks or their ability to inspire galactic rebellion. Choose quickly, Commander, General Martinez said as reports of rebellion continued flooding Vorthak communication channels. Every minute you delay means more of your people will die needlessly. We gave you fair warning. We offered you reasonable terms. Now you face the consequences of 3,000 years of tyranny and oppression coming due all at once. Fleet Commander Vex watched in growing horror as reports flooded in from across the Vorthak Empire. 300 worlds were in open rebellion simultaneously. Slave populations that had been subjugated for centuries were suddenly fighting back with advanced weapons and coordinated tactics. Military installations that had stood unchallenged for millennia were falling to perfectly planned assaults. This is impossible, he muttered while scanning the tactical displays. Our intelligence networks reported no signs of organized resistance. These uprisings appeared from nowhere. General Martinez appeared on the main screen again with the same calm confidence she had maintained throughout their conversation. Commander Vex, what you are witnessing is the result of 50 years of careful preparation. Every enslaved species in your empire has been quietly organizing and training while waiting for this moment. Admiral Krev studied the incoming reports with growing disbelief. The coordination is too perfect. Multiple species are attacking using identical tactics across thousands of light years. Someone has been directing these resistance movements from a central command authority. Earth has been serving as a coordination center for oppressed civilizations throughout the galaxy, Martinez confirmed. We established contact with resistance groups decades ago and have been providing weapons, training, and tactical support. Today represents the largest coordinated liberation effort in galactic history. Fleet Commander Vex felt his authority crumbling as more worlds declared their independence. The Vorthic Empire had controlled these territories through fear and overwhelming military superiority. Once that fear disappeared, the subject populations vastly outnumbered their oppressors. Rebellions were spreading faster than his forces could. "Respond, sir," Commander Thane reported urgently. "We are receiving a priority transmission from the homeworld. High Command is ordering immediate withdrawal of all fleet assets to defend core territories. The rebellion has reached our primary industrial worlds." Before Vex could respond, another human appeared on the communication channel. This one wore civilian clothes but carried the bearing of someone accustomed to wielding significant authority. His introduction identified him as President Angela Cross, representing Earth's civilian government. "Fleet Commander Vex, President," Cross said in a measured tone, "we are prepared to offer terms for the peaceful resolution of this conflict. However, those terms will only remain available for a limited time. Every minute you delay results in more unnecessary casualties throughout your empire." "What terms?" Vex asked, though he already knew his negotiating position was hopeless. "Complete dissolution of the Vorthic Empire," Cross replied immediately. "All enslaved populations will be granted immediate independence. All stolen technology will be returned to its original creators. All war criminals will face trial before a galactic tribunal. All military forces will be disbanded and restricted to defensive operations within Vorthak home territory." "You ask us to abandon everything we have built over 3 millennia, Vex protested. "The Vorthic Empire represents the greatest civilization in galactic history. We brought order to chaos and unity to countless primitive worlds." President Cross shook her head sadly. "Commander, you brought slavery to free peoples and death to thriving civilizations. Your empire was built on genocide and sustained by oppression. The galaxy will be far better off without Vorthic rule." Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared beside the president with data displays showing the scope of Vorthic crimes. "We have documented the systematic extermination of 17 sentient species. We have evidence of forced labor camps containing billions of enslaved beings. We have records of cultural destruction programs designed to erase the heritage of conquered civilizations." The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Fleet Commander Vex had personally overseen many of these operations, believing them necessary for maintaining Imperial control. Now he saw them through the eyes of their victims and understood the true horror of what his people had accomplished. "The galaxy is choosing its own future today," President Cross continued. "Species that have suffered under your rule for generations are finally free to determine their own destinies. Earth is simply providing the coordination and support necessary to make that choice possible." Suddenly, the tactical display lit up with new contacts. Ships were appearing throughout the solar system, but these were not human vessels. Dozens of different designs represented species from across the galaxy. Former Vorthak subjects were arriving to witness the end of the empire that had enslaved them. "The Liberation Fleet," Director Sullivan announced as he rejoined the conversation. "Representatives from every species that suffered under Vorthak rule. They have come to ensure justice is finally served and to help establish a new galactic order based on freedom rather than oppression." Fleet Commander Vex recognized many of the ship designs from conquered civilizations. The Zilani, whose home world had been strip-mined for resources. The Korvac, whose colonies had been destroyed for refusing tribute payments. The Vex, whose entire species had been nearly driven to extinction for resisting Vorthic expansion. "You see, Commander," General Martinez said quietly, "humanity's greatest strength was never our military technology. Our greatest weapon was hope. We showed oppressed species that resistance was possible and provided them with the tools necessary to free themselves." The scope of the human achievement became clear to Admiral Krev as he watched the Liberation Fleet take positions around Earth. These aliens had not come to serve new masters. They had come as equal partners in a galactic alliance based on mutual respect and shared values. Earth had inspired them to fight for freedom rather than demanding their submission. "Your empire is finished," President Cross stated with finality. "The question now is whether its end will be peaceful or violent." We still prefer diplomatic solutions, but we will not allow your forces to escape justice by fleeing to cause more suffering elsewhere. Commander Thane was monitoring communications from across the Empire. Sir, the rebellion has reached our core worlds. The capital fleet is under attack. High Command is requesting immediate evacuation of all senior officers. The government is preparing to flee to emergency shelters. Fleet Commander Vex realized that everything his civilization had built was collapsing around him. 3,000 years of conquest and expansion were ending in a matter of hours. The mighty Vorthak Empire would become nothing more than a cautionary tale about the ultimate price of tyranny. "We surrender," he said quietly. "Louder, please, Commander," General Martinez requested. "Your words need to be heard throughout the galaxy so that all Vorthak forces understand the situation clearly." Fleet. Commander Vex straightened in his command chair and spoke in a clear voice that carried across all communication channels. "This is Fleet Commander Vex of the Vorthak. Imperial Navy, I hereby order the complete surrender of all Vorthak military forces. All ships will power down weapons and prepare for inspection by Liberation Fleet personnel. All garrison forces will cease hostile operations and await further instructions." The words echoed through space, carrying the weight of galactic transformation. An empire that had dominated the galaxy for millennia was ending not through military defeat, but through the awakening of hope in the hearts of the oppressed. Earth had given the galaxy something far more valuable than superior weapons. They had given them the courage to choose freedom. The surrender of Fleet Commander Vex echoed across the galaxy like a shockwave through hyperspace. Within hours, every Vorthak military installation received the stand-down order. Garrison commanders who had ruled enslaved worlds for decades found themselves suddenly powerless as their own troops refused to continue fighting a hopeless war. The mighty empire that had dominated galactic civilization for 3 millennia crumbled in less than a day. President Angela Cross stood in the Earth Command Center watching as Liberation Fleet ships took control of surrendering Vorthak vessels. Each alien crew that came aboard represented species that had suffered under Imperial oppression for generations. Now they worked together as equals to ensure justice would finally be served. "Status report from all sectors," she requested from General Martinez, who was coordinating the massive operation. "All major Vorthak fleet assets have surrendered without resistance," Martinez replied while studying multiple tactical displays. "Slave worlds throughout the Empire are declaring independence and establishing provisional governments. Resistance movements are securing former Imperial installations and freeing labor camps. The transition is proceeding more smoothly than our most optimistic projections." Ambassador Marcus Webb appeared on the communication channel from his negotiating position with the Vorthak leadership. "Madam President, we have received formal surrender documents from the Imperial High Command. They are requesting terms for the protection of civilian populations on Vorthak homeworlds." "What are our recommendations?" Cross asked, though she already knew the answer. "Complete amnesty for all civilian populations," Webb replied immediately. "War crimes trials only for military officers and government officials directly involved in genocidal operations. Reconstruction assistance for worlds damaged by Imperial resource extraction. Most importantly, establishment of the Galactic Liberation Council to prevent any single species from achieving dominance over others." President Cross nodded with satisfaction. Earth had planned this moment for decades, but they had always intended to share power rather than seize it. Humanity's goal was galactic freedom, not human empire. "Approved, Ambassador. Begin implementation immediately." Dr. Elena Vasquez joined the conversation from her research facility where she was coordinating with alien scientists. "Madam President, we are receiving unprecedented cooperation from former Vorthok subjects. They are sharing technology freely and providing detailed intelligence about Imperial war crimes. The evidence for tribunal proceedings will be overwhelming." "What about technological integration?" Cross asked. "Remarkable progress," Vasquez replied enthusiastically. "Species that were forced to work separately under Imperial rule are now collaborating openly. The combination of human organizational skills with alien technical expertise is producing innovations we never imagined possible. The galaxy is going to become far more advanced through cooperation than it ever was through conquest. Director Tom Sullivan appeared from Intelligence Headquarters with updates on the broader situation. Madam President, former imperial territories are stabilizing rapidly. Local populations are establishing democratic governments and requesting membership in the new Galactic Alliance. Most species want Earth to serve as the coordinating authority for interstellar relations. That is not acceptable, Cross replied firmly. Humanity will not replace Vorthek tyranny with human dominance. The galaxy must govern itself through representative democracy, not single-species rule. Captain Jake Morrison reported from his flagship, which was escorting captured Vorthek vessels to secure facilities. Ma'am, the enemy crews are surprisingly cooperative. Many officers are actually expressing relief that the war is over. Apparently, Imperial military service involved constant fear of execution for failure or disloyalty. The scope of Vorthek oppression became clearer as more information emerged from surrendering forces. Even their own people had lived under brutal authoritarian control. Soldiers who failed missions faced execution. Officers who questioned orders disappeared permanently. Civilians who expressed dissent were sent to labor camps alongside enslaved aliens. The Empire was a prison for everyone, General Martinez observed while reviewing interrogation reports. Vorthek citizens were as much victims of their system as conquered species. They just happened to be victims with better living conditions. Commander Lisa Park contacted Earth from the Lunar Command Center where she was coordinating fleet movements. President Cross, we are receiving requests for assistance from over 800 worlds that were under Vorthek control. They need help establishing defense forces, rebuilding infrastructure, and creating new governmental systems. Response? Cross asked, though she knew Park would have practical recommendations. I suggest we create multinational assistance teams. Park replied. Each team should include humans for coordination plus representatives from species with relevant expertise. The Zelani are excellent engineers. The Korvek understand agricultural systems. The Vex specialize in planetary defense. Everyone contributes their strengths while learning from others. President Cross smiled as she watched the Liberation Fleet ships working together throughout the solar system. Species that had been enemies under Imperial rule were now cooperating as partners in galactic reconstruction. Former slaves were becoming free citizens. Former oppressors were facing justice while their victims showed remarkable mercy and victory. Ambassador Webb appeared again with a final report from the surrender negotiations. Madam President, Fleet Commander Vex and Admiral Krev have provided complete intelligence files on all Vorthek military operations. They are cooperating fully with tribunal investigators and accepting personal responsibility for their actions. They seemed genuinely shocked to learn the full scope of Imperial atrocities. Many perpetrators of evil never see themselves as villains. Cross replied thoughtfully. They convince themselves that their actions serve some greater good. The Vorthek leadership probably believed they were bringing civilization to primitive worlds rather than destroying thriving cultures. Dr. Vasquez had additional insights from her analysis of Imperial records. The psychological conditioning was extensive, Madam President. Vorthek society taught its people that other species were inherently inferior and needed firm guidance. They genuinely believed that conquest and slavery were beneficial for their victims. Understanding evil does not excuse it, General Martinez added grimly, but it does help us prevent similar tragedies in the future. The new galactic government must include safeguards against any species achieving the level of dominance that enabled Vorthek atrocities. President Cross looked out at the stars visible through the command center windows. Each point of light represented worlds that were now free to determine their own destinies. The galaxy would face new challenges in the coming years, but it would face them as a community of equals rather than subjects under Imperial rule. Today the galaxy learned something important, she said to her assembled staff. True strength comes from inspiring others to be their best rather than forcing them to submit. Humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization was not superior weapons or advanced technology. It was the simple belief that every species deserves freedom and dignity. The Liberation Fleet began dispersing to carry assistance throughout former Imperial territory. Human ships worked alongside alien vessels as partners in the largest reconstruction effort in galactic history. Earth's warning had proven prophetic. They had indeed been kind until the day they chose to end tyranny forever. Now kindness would have the chance to flourish in a galaxy where freedom replaced fear and cooperation replaced conquest. The age of empire was over. The age of liberation had begun.